You, the voters, you decided, no one else, and I'm not going anywhere.
Biden last night wobbled his way through a press conference where the bar was lower than the Earth's core. For Joe, a good night was calling Zelensky President Putin, Kamala Harris, VP Trump, and anywaying his way through the hour.
Look, folks, this is, well, anyway, I'm not going to be traveling into 15 time zones a week before. Anyway, I'm catching hell from my wife for that. Anyway, it wasn't about just, anyway, read what his objective is. And anyway, but then again, they're better than a lot of other people here too. But anyway, we just move things along. Anyway, for the longest time it was, you know, Biden's not prepared to sit with us unscripted. Biden's not prepared to, you know, anyway.
President Biden speaking to supporters in Michigan after surveying his big boy news conference. In the meantime, watch out, Joe. You may have survived your big boy news conference, but the Democratic big guns are calculating their next move in their coup to remove you. Barack Obama and Nancy Pelosi have reportedly spoken with each other about Joe Biden and the future of his campaign. Axios reports that there's a group of, quote, very connected Democrats, mostly veterans of the Obama and Clinton administrations, who are plotting hourly to get him to withdraw quickly. Hillary Clinton is cracking jokes about how it's hard to take away Grandpa's keys while speaking to a private gathering of influential Democrats. And poor Joe can't even trust the people who work for him. His campaign staffers are leaking like crazy to the media.
It is people who are actually working on the president's reelection effort who privately are saying after 2 weeks since the debate that this just isn't something that he can turn around.
These aides have basically come to the conclusion of is that he does have to step aside, and that to do that, they have to convince him of the need to do that.
Even the left's biggest cultural icons are kicking Joe Biden while he's down. Check out this brutal jab from Jon Stewart on Biden's debate disaster.
I don't know of a job interview that you could have gone on and delivered the performance that was delivered by Joe Biden and gotten a job. And I'm not talking about the presidency. I'm talking about like cashier at Home Depot, like a job that you would not think, okay, that is the hardest job in the entire world.
All right, Jesse, we've heard about the aides to Obama and Clinton. What about Obama himself? He hasn't spoken.
That's purposeful. He doesn't want his fingerprints on it, but they're all over it.
What does it tell you?
It tells me he wants it out, but he doesn't want to be too blunt, because that's going to force Joe to dig in even harder. I just love how casually the media is reporting there's a coup. It's like you're going through your email and you're like, oh, they want a 4 o'clock meeting on a Friday. Great. Up, coup against the sitting president. Up, 15% off Neiman Marcus today. All right. Like, people, it's just like, oh, one of those things, a coup. Oh, it's a coup. And this is the second one. They did it against Trump, too. Yeah. And now they're doing it against Joe. Now, when they did it against Trump, it made a lot of Republicans back Trump harder. Right. This may make people on the Democrat side back Biden harder. I'm backing Biden harder because they're trying to do this to him.
It's so unfair.
And it is. Because
welcome to the team, you two. We'll take it.
For now. If they wanted him out because he was mentally unfit, 25th Amendment. Mm-hmm. That's an honest assessment, 25th Amendment. But they don't want him out because of his mentality. They want him out because he has bad poll numbers. Mm-hmm. McCain had bad poll numbers. Dole had horrible poll numbers. They knew in September he was going to lose. Jimmy Carter, imagine Jimmy Carter's poll numbers in July 4th going against Reagan. They didn't get rid of Carter then. They just give it your best shot. This is the game we're playing. There's a primary. They rigged it. But then they have votes for the primary. You have to play by the rules. They have to live with the decisions they made. Yep. He's got a 32% approval rating. He's got a 27% chance of winning re-election. But it's not really because of his age, Janine. It's because of his policies. He's got horrible policies, and the Democrats want to make it about the age to distract it from the policies. But he's in this position, and he was in this position before the debate because of his policies.
You know, what about, Katie, the fact that it seemed that Obama really took to Kamala Harris when he said in 2013, she's the most beautiful attorney general in the country. And, you know, he was fawning over her, and Michelle was not too happy. I thought she was going to hit him with the right hook. But do you think that, you know, there's a movement just to put Kamala at the top?
There's consideration of that, but she's attached to Joe Biden. And to Jesse's point, they are very unpopular when it comes to their policies. Biden is one of the most unpopular presidents in the history of polling. And Kamala Harris, that was a marriage of convenience to try and get Joe Biden over the finish line the first time. She doesn't poll as well as Joe Biden does. And for the Democrats, they have this big problem where it's not just the ticket of Kamala and Joe. It's Gavin Newsom polls below Trump. You had Pritzker polling below Trump. They're having a really hard time finding someone who can beat Trump at the polls on these issues. But I gotta say, you know, the Bidens gotta be pretty nervous that the Clintons are starting to hang around, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know, like probably a little nervous about them. I find it really interesting to see who is backing Biden very publicly and who's not. Like AOC and Bernie Sanders, for example, are very pro-Biden, which is actually a pretty good reflection of how he is governed. He's not been a moderate candidate, or president. He's been a very far left president. And you're also seeing this class war happening within the Democratic Party. And I think actually Biden has a point when he says the elites are out to get me. Can't get more elite than Barack Obama and George Clooney.
Yep. You know, when Joe was running, it was Clyburn, James Clyburn, who saved him in South Carolina in 2019. Clyburn kind of has been back and forth. He's not real clear. What do you think is going on with him?
Yeah, I mean, he doubled down on his support of the president in that most recent interview. To your point, Judge, he made Joe Biden president in South Carolina. The Congressional Black Caucus, which is the core of my party, right, along with the Hispanic Caucus, have met with the president. They've endorsed him, re-endorsed him. There's a lot of energy behind him for that. I think to Jesse's point, you know, the process has played out, right? If you have folks coming in last minute, 14 million people voted. Now you can say really wasn't a primary because no one else really ran against the president. Same with, you know, Trump when he was up for re-election. He had some challengers back in 20, but he has cleared the field. It's his to win or lose going into November.
Yes, and we agree with you.
You're on my team now. I heard
right.
us. Rousing endorsement.
Yeah.
Oh my
Joe.
gosh. Let's
All
go,
right,
Joe.
Greg, you know, the Obama people and the Clinton people, they're all like, you know, they're throwing in the towel, allegedly. But they're the ones who held up the towel for all those years.
I wouldn't touch that towel. You know, Hillary and Obama are like, they're like the long-suffering understudy hoping that the lead gets crushed by a stage prop. You know, it's going to sound like a forgotten Columbo episode where an ambitious older female politician invites the president out for a hike, and then two go out and one comes back, and the one that comes back is wearing a pantsuit, as always. But it is interesting, Katie, you do bring it up, the thing about that Biden being a far-left president. Why are the only people still really, really supporting Biden is the hard left, progressives like the Squad, Bernie Sanders, and the rabid firebrands on social media and you know, mainstream media? It's because he was and he will remain their progressive Trojan horse. You know, their support is a quid pro quo, which is Latin for you owe us, old man. So if you're a moderate Democrat, think twice about voting for him, because you aren't electing him, you're electing them. And at this point, he won't have another term, so he will do everything they want. And this is where you got all of these horrible decisions, like the climate bill and the college whatever crap that he pushed through.
And the border.
And the border.
And inflation.
And the crazy DAs.
And the crazy DAs, yeah.
Yep.
And the Supreme Court has said he can do whatever he wants pretty much now, too.
Well, no, other than the student loan. Come on. All righty.
We got to finish the job, and I promise you, I'm okay. Thank you.
Fresh sound of President Biden on the campaign trail in Michigan, trying to tell voters his brain is okay. The big guy says the only way he quits is if somebody on his staff would just show him that there's no path to victory. Well, that shouldn't be too hard, right? There's plenty of polls showing that Donald Trump is clobbering Joe in key swing states, and it's got the media worried that someone isn't giving Joe the full picture.
It makes me worry that the president is being given information about his political standing that may not be based in reality.
If they're not telling him the truth, he is in a very, very tough spot. I don't know anyone in politics who would tell you, who looks at the numbers that we see, would tell you that he has a very good chance.
It's obvious to me that his wife and son are not letting him see the actual state of his political affairs.
A longtime Biden advisor just texted me. I am frustrated at the family, the Biden family, for not expanding the circle so there would be at least a truth teller or two in their midst.
While we're on the subject of his staff, Axios is out with another stunning report that claims that Joe Biden is shrinking his inner circle to a group of yes men and women who block him from getting negative information. It says, quote, the White House now is being run by the family and staff who are effectively family, a group that also includes the First Lady Jill Biden's top aide and Deputy Chief of Staff. So, Greg, Hunter Biden is now a top presidential advisor, and we all know he makes really good decisions about big topics.
Yeah, this is the problem, the inner circle not telling you the truth. It's like when Jesse, remember when Jesse Primetime, your staff said that dancing to music in your chair was very cool. Oh. Everybody outside the show was laughing at him. It took me, a good friend, an honest friend, to tell him he was embarrassing himself by what I did was I made a montage.
Okay, that was not the staff's idea. That was my idea.
Yes, but this is what you do when you celebrate yourself, surround yourself with people who don't care enough to tell you the truth. And obviously Hunter's looking out for himself. He's got money to worry about. He's got a lot of things to worry about. And as long as you have power, no one's going to tell you otherwise. And the sad thing about Joe is spouses are designed for that, to tell you what your co-workers and friends won't tell you. Unfortunately, Jill is a spouse, and she's controlling the spigot of information. She's controlling everything. And the thing that I guess bugs me about this whole thing is that they're worried about the numbers and not the nation. The stats should be like, who cares? It's like the guy's not well. He can't run a country. It's not about like, oh, you might lose. Maybe you should tell him, you know what, this isn't good. You said that Trump was the selfish one who wouldn't give up power. Look at you, dude.
Yeah, Judge, First Lady Jill Biden, after that debate, went out in public and told Joe that he did a great job. I think that backs up the accusation that he's not getting the truth from her.
Well, I don't think there's any question but that Jill Biden, the make-believe doctor, is a make-believe medical doctor. Too bad she wasn't a doctor. I mean, she might be able to help him a little bit. But, she is the one who has dug her heels in. And you cannot get into the White House to see Joe unless Jill approves it. All right? So you have Hunter, who desperately needs his father to be president. I mean, there's still a lot going on in terms of his future. And Jill, who absolutely loves it. She has been literally coordinating and shielding Joe Biden, directing him to look this way, look that way, walk this way, walk that way. It's too important to her, and it's very sad. Mm-hmm. And that's why I referenced Truman's wife and Lyndon Johnson's wife, who said, no, we're not going to let this happen to our husbands. No second term. But she is a woman who, is committed to running again. And I just want to say one thing about the debate. The original debate. Joe Biden was a different man than he was last night. And people don't talk about it that much, but I don't know who handled him before that debate. But whatever he was given, he was speaking ahead of his thoughts, and he was speaking too quickly, and he was dozing off. There was something going on with him. And I really believe that the family is not willing to say what it was that happened. I'm not suggesting in any way that Joe Biden has all his marbles, because he doesn't. Yeah. But at the same time, he doesn't. But at the same time, I think that there's a lot going on behind the scenes. The Dems have been complicit. They know he's not accurate, but that he's not on top of his game. But what yesterday did, what last night did, was allowed him to stay in until the end of the year. If he flipped out last night, like the debate, they would have said he's got to go 25th Amendment.
So, Kevin, how does the president get out of this polling problem? He keeps saying, if they show me the evidence and the data, I'm willing to think about stepping aside. Delegates can vote for whoever they want at convention. The data's been pretty bad for him for a couple of months. And the last 2 weeks, according to the campaign manager, been really rough.
Well, here I thought, Judge, you were on our team for at least until the commercial break, bumping up Joe. Listen, you've got 538 out there actually today saying that Joe Biden would win 271 to Donald Trump's 269, right? So you've got these polls. And I said last week when Nate Silver came out against Joe Biden that he was a terrible pollster. Now I'm celebrating him a little bit. I've changed my tune a little bit because he's right now in terms of the president. But polls have been all over the place. There is some trend lines in some of these battleground states since the debate. I'm hopeful that going into next week, we can refocus the conversation on Donald Trump. When it's a referendum, as it has been on Joe Biden since the debate, we lose, right? He's got to refocus the campaign. And to your point earlier, he tried to do that a little bit with the press conference at NATO. We can debate whether that was the proper format and location for that. But he's got to reformat and refocus the debate on Donald Trump. That's how he wins.
Jesse?
Well, I don't think polling is going to push him out. It's got to be Payne. They have to find an offshore bank account with Chinese money in it, or a whistleblower has to come forward, or they really pull some crazy move with delegates behind the scenes at the convention. But this guy has 4 decades of watching politics. He's seen polls turn around. He's seen black swan events. He saw one in 2020. You could have a tragedy. You could have Trump had food poisoning before the next debate and throw up all over the place. Anything could happen. And that's why he's going to stay in it. Yes, his map is shrinking. He has a very narrow path through the Rust Belt where he has to basically clean sweep it. Is it impossible? No. Is it improbable? Yes. All he needs to do is make it to the convention. He has 1 month. If he can survive 1 month, he's locked in the nomination, and there it is.
Even less than that, because we're doing that roll call in like 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Even
Two
faster.
weeks.
Even
you know
faster.
What? Remember, he's been in politics for 50 years. He's got a thick skin.
Yes, he
He's
does.
used to this.
And he knows about October surprises.
Yes,
Yes,
he
he
does.
does.
Might be one of those.
Yes.
And early voting starts in September in some places. So there you go.
Improbable. Improbable. Spigot. Spigot. Referendum. Referendum. Denigrate. Denigrate. Understudy. Understudy. Fawn over. Fawn over. Brutal jab. Brutal jab. Plot. Plot.
If you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing to my channel to stay up to date with future videos. Thank you for watching.